At the rowdy table, thick with the stench of beer, Luan Shuyan's best friend Lam Engip was already dead drunk. Showing no restraint, he draped his arm heavily around my wife's shoulders, slurring as he reminisced about their shared past. Lam Engip eyes glazed with alcohol, laughing inanely as he leaned close to Luan Shuyan's face. Yin, tell me, if we hadn't broken up back then, our kid would probably be starting primary school by now, wouldn't they? Noticing my expression darken, he let out a cold, provocative snort. His grip on Luan Shuyan's shoulder tightened, deliberately pulling her flush against his chest. Lam Engip with a mocking smirk, his eyes full of derision as he looked directly at me. Oh, brother-in-law, I bet you didn't know we used to travel abroad together, did you? Shuyan, you re-hiding it so well. Could it be that in your heart, you re-still pining for your old flame? Hearing those grating words, I didn't explode. Instead, I let a cold, faint smile play on my lips and cut through his buffoonery with clinical precision. Ko thin eyes cold as ice, his voice calm but sharp as a blade. Maybe you should wait until we've finalized the divorce before you start calculating your lingering feelings. It's quite unsightly for a man who just divorced his own wife to be in such a hurry to play the homewrecker. At the mention of the word divorce, Luan Shuyan flinched. She hurriedly reached out to push away the man leaning on her, her face a mask of panicked realization. Luan Shuyan frowning, looking at me anxiously, desperate to explain. Hubby, don't misunderstand. Lam Engip is just drunk and talking nonsense. Don't listen to him. He just got divorced and is in a terrible place. He's only drinking his sorrows away. Despite being pushed, Lam Engip's gaze remained hazy. He leaned in again, slinging his arm back over her shoulder and brazenly poked his index finger at her chest. Lam Engip sneering, chin tilted arrogantly. Nonsense? What part was nonsense? If we hadn't split up, our kid would be old enough to run errands for us by now, and what's there to be heartbroken about a divorce? I am a man who loves and hates boldly, nothing like those pathetic types who wither away for love. Those people, they aren't even on my level. Having said his piece, Lam Engip shot me a contemptuous, provocative look. It was a look that made my skin crawl with nausea. Just then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from my daughter. Neen daddy, when are you and mommy coming home? I silently showed the chat to Luan Shuyan. Ko thin tapping the screen lightly, his tone cold and urgent. Neen is waiting. End this party now. I want to go home. Seeing this, Lam Engip suddenly lunged forward, snatched the phone from my hand and turned to glare at Luan Shuyan. Lam Engip slurring, his attitude surly. Shuyan, what is wrong with your husband? Does he have no manners at the table? When you go out, you play hard. What time is it even? And he's already nagging to go home? Married men, what a nuisance. He lowered his voice for the last part, but I heard every syllable clearly. Abandoning any pretense of politeness, I reached out and yanked my phone back. Ko thin staring directly at Lam Engip's stiffened hand, voice dripping with sarcasm. If you find men so troublesome, does that mean you don't consider yourself one? Sensing the barely suppressed rage in my voice, Luan Shuyan panicked. She grabbed my arm. Luan Shuyan coaxing me with a pleading look. Hubby, don't take it out on a drunk man. Lam Engip has always been like this. When he's with our group of friends, he gets too comfortable. He basically doesn't even see himself as a member of the opposite sex. Hearing that ridiculous defense, I shrugged her hand off my shoulder. Ko thin with a smirk, looking at her with a mix of pity and disappointment. Luan Shuyan, you re nearly 30, not 3. If he doesn't see himself as a man, why did he marry and have children like everyone else? Why did he date you back then? Are you saying you and his ex-wife both have issues with gender perception? Luan Shuyan was stunned into silence, her mouth working but no words coming out. Her face flushed a deep crimson, radiating embarrassment and awkwardness. Sensing the suffocating atmosphere, she forced a smile and turned to the surrounding friends to save face. Luan Shuyan a stiff, hollow laugh. Ah, don't mind him, everyone. Ko thin is just in a bad mood today. Ko thin cutting her off, voice razor sharp. As a married man whose divorce isn't final yet, watching my wife cuddle with her ex, how exactly am I supposed to be in a good mood? The room fell into a terrifying silence, even the music seemed to fade. I couldn't stand being in this filthy place for another second, nor did I have the patience for Lam Engip's cheap green tea act. I stood up and reached for my car keys. Suddenly, a powerful grip clamped onto my hand. A drunken Lam Engip used his weight to shove me back into the chair. He staggered up, leaning his face uncomfortably close to mine. Lam Engip, the stench of alcohol hitting my face, his tone fake and mocking. Oh, brother-in-law, I admit, Shuyan and I dated, but that is ancient history. I misspoke today. I am a straight shooter. I say what's on my mind. Don't take it to heart. I thought the man who ended up with an Chuyen would be open-minded and could take a joke like the rest of us. Rest easy, our relationship is pure. We grew up together. That love back then was just youthful ignorance. We realized we weren't a match and split immediately. He smirked then, leaning into my ear to whisper an insulting hypothetical. Lan Engipa whisper, laced with contempt. To be blunt, even if Luan Chuyen stripped naked in front of me right now, I wouldn't have a single impure thought about her. He was hunched over me to speak. From this angle, my eyes inadvertently flickered down. There, at his crotch, his body was showing clear signs of physiological arousal, a blatant contradiction to his no impure thoughts claim. Clearly, while he was intimately holding Luan Chuyen, he was reacting. The smell of heavy liquor combined with the sheer revulsion made it hard to breathe. A wave of nausea surged from the pit of my stomach. Ko Thin faced cold, shoving his hand off my shoulder. It off me, caught off balance, and drunk, Lam Engeep stumbled and fell onto his backside. Ignoring him, I poured 2 cups of cold tea and downed them to suppress the bile and the rage. By the time I set the cup down, Luan Chuyen had already rushed to him. Luan Chuyen frantically helping Lam Engeep up, glaring at me with sharp reproach. Ko Thin, what is wrong with you? If you didn't want to hear his apology, fine, but how could you push him to the ground like that? This is so disrespectful. Apologize to Lam Engeep right now. Lam Engeep scrambled to his feet, dusting off his clothes. He let out a cold snort and turned to Luan Chuyen with a mocking quip. Lam Engeep brushing his hands, smirking at her. Chuyen, why is your husband so incredibly petty? Everyone has a first love, yet he won't even let a few old stories be told. He shrugged, playing the innocent victim as whispers began to ripple through the room. His group of friends swarmed in like a hive of buzzing flies. The friends whispering, some advising, some mocking. Ko Thin, don't be so hard on Lan Engeep. He has a sharp tongue, but his heart is in the right place. Exactly. If he is willing to be that blunt, it means he definitely has no designs on Chuyen anymore. Things are different now. But Chuyen, you are a married woman. Not every joke is appropriate. After being prodded by their half-joking reminders, Luan Chuyen's expression soured even further. She whipped around to me, her voice an insistent command. Luan Chuyen, face full of irritation, brow furrowed. Ko Thin, apologized to them this instant. Don't let your selfishness ruin everyone's night. This is Lam Engeep's return to bachelorhood party, he asked the host. What is the big deal if he made a few jokes? Seeing me remain motionless, her expression hardened. Luan Chuyen coldly dropping a devastating remark. Honestly, nobody begged you to come here. She reached out to grab my sleeve, leaning close to my ear to drop her voice. Luan Chuyen, a forced whisper. Hubby, if you re-upset, take it out on me when we get home. I am begging you, don't make a scene in front of others. I tilted my head, staring silently at her. The disappointment was so overwhelming that just as I was about to question her, another act of brazen intimacy cut me off. Lam Engeep, having just stood up, stepped right back into our space. He casually reached out and grabbed Luan Chuyen's hand. Their fingers intertwined intimately. Luan Chuyen stumbled slightly at the contact, but she held his hand tight, making no move to let go. Lam Engeep toying with a lock of her hair, smiling suggestively at the crowd as he whispered in her ear. Indistinct, suggestive words accompanied by a smug, flirtatious glance. They looked exactly like a young couple in a romantic drama. The flirting and the lingering looks were nauseating. The friends cheered and teased that someone would be kneeling on a washboard once they got home. Luan Chuyen, her face flushing like a peach blossom, using a coy, playful voice as she pushed him lightly. Stop it. At the light shove, Lam Engeep's eyes suddenly turned red. He let out a sorrowful reproach. Lam Engeep, eyes red, voice trembling with nostalgia. Why are you pushing me? Who was it that said, as long as I took the initiative, they would hold my hand for the rest of our lives? At those words, Luan Chuyen's gaze turned somber. It was unclear what memories were surfacing, but her hand, which had intended to push him away, froze. Then, she gripped his hand, even tighter. Luan Chuyen looking at me with a guilty but resolute gaze, her voice soft. Hubby, Lan Engeep is really too drunk right now. I did say those things years ago. And since he just went through a painful divorce, his state of mind is fragile. Looking at him like this, I really don't have the heart to push him away. Seeing her soften, Lam Engeep flashed a triumphant, provocative grin. He leaned casually against her back. Lam Engeep smirking, mocking. Why do you even have to explain such a small thing to him? Luan Chuyen, why did you become so tedious after getting married? I want to see if anything has changed. Let's see just how soft your ears have become. With that, Lam Engeep suddenly leaned in and bit Luan Chuyen's earlobe right in front of me. Her neck flushed crimson with bashfulness. Her eyes flickered with a sudden, wavering emotion. They remained lost in that suggestive moment for what felt like an eternity. Ko Thin letting out a cold, mocking laugh that shattered the sweet atmosphere of the pair. Maybe we should just head straight to the lawyers. Once the papers are signed, you two can do whatever you want and I won't interfere. Don't let your white moonlight carry the label of a homewrecker just as he has gotten his own freedom. With that, I turned and walked away. Only then did Luan Chuyen snap out of it. Realizing how far she had crossed the line, she frantically let go of Lam Engeep's hand and moved to chase after me. But before she could take more than a few steps, a friend rushed out from the room to stop her. A friend face panicked, shouting, "Chuyen, do you have his stomach medicine?" Lam Engeep's old condition is flaring up again. The footsteps behind me stopped abruptly. Luan Chuyen, voice laced with extreme worry, turning back instantly. Yes, I have it on me. I paused, glancing back over my shoulder. Luan Chuyen was already scurrying back into the room with an expression of deep distress, leaving me standing there alone. As I stepped out of the elevator and into the lobby, my phone buzzed incessantly. Luan Chuyen was messaging me, demanding that I drive Lam Engeep to the hospital. Before I could reply, she called. Luan Chuyen, voice frantic, shouting over the noise of the crowd behind her. Ko Thin, a human life is at stake. Why are you being so stubborn and petty right now? Prioritize getting Lam Engeep to the Once that's done, I'll accept whatever you want to do. From her end, her friends took turns jeering at me. Life comes first. He as pale as a ghost. What if it has a cute in her eyes? This husband is so heartless. I didn't bother with their hypocrisy or their coercion. I simply hung up. Yet she was persistent enough to chase me down to the parking lot. Just as I started the engine, my car door was yanked open with force. Luan Chuyen, panting from the run, Lam Engeep's bite marks still visible on her ear, barked an order. Lam Engeep is in agony. You have to leave the car here for us. The group has already called a designated driver. They'll be here any second. Ko Thin looking at her with a look of sheer, mocking disbelief. What did you just say? Luan Chuyen snapping, leaning in to fumble with my seatbelt to pull me out. Ko Thin, I am not joking with you. Ko Thin sitting motionless, calling her name coldly. Luan Chuyen. All these years, you've kept stomach medicine on you at all times. Was the ultimate goal always just to look after Lam Engeep? Luan Chuyen's hands froze on the seatbelt. The car's interior was dim, but I caught the flash of panicked realization in her eyes. Luan Chuyen stammering, her instinct to deny. No, that's not it. Ko Thin letting out a bitter laugh, suddenly shouting. Auntie, touch me. Get out. Not far away, her group of friends was making a scene, helping Lam Engeep out of the hotel lobby. A friend shouting from a distance. Chuyen, are you done yet? Lam Engeep can't hold on much longer. Luan Chuyen turning her head to scream back. I am coming. With that, she doubled her efforts to pull me out. Seeing the sweat on her brow, born of her worry for another man, my heart throbbed with a suffocating pain. This was worse than betrayal. Slap, the sound echoed sharply in the cramped car. I had delivered a slap that sent Luan Chuyen's head snapping to the side. She clutched her face, staring at me in utter shock. My eyes were bloodshot with resentment. Ignoring her bewilderment, I pulled out my phone and played a voice message from our daughter, Neen. In the suffocating silence of the car, Neen's sobbing voice rang out. Neen sobbing through the speaker. Daddy, when are you and Mommy coming home? Auntie Tuan has to go soon. I am all alone. I am scared. The message ended. I put the phone back in my pocket and looked Luan Chuyen in the eye with a look of absolute fury. Ko Thin tone cold as frost. Now, do you want to stay here to care for your first love, or do you want to come home to your daughter? Make your choice. Luan Chuyen exasperated, her face full of annoyance. Ko Thin, look at the situation and stop being so moody. Why do you keep bringing up first loves? Lam Engeep and I are just friends. Besides, he is sick. I took a deep breath to keep from breaking down, fighting the emotions surging in my chest. As a man, I knew exactly what Lam Engeep was doing. He was marking his territory, proving his influence over my wife. I had tried to endure for the sake of dignity, but my patience was gone. The night wind blew in, bone-chilling, and my heart turned to ash. I looked her in the face. Ko Thin, a fire of rage igniting, voice low and deliberate. What the hell does his illness have to do with me? Ignoring her hand still gripping the edge of the door, I shoved the door shut with all my might. Startled by the sudden move, she yanked her hand back just in time. Thud. The door slammed shut, and I locked it instantly. I floored the accelerator. The car surged forward, merging into the heavy traffic. Through the rearview mirror, I watched Luan Huyen's silhouette fade. She hadn't chosen her daughter. She had turned around and was running back toward Lam Engip at the hotel entrance. I wiped away the tears rolling down my cheeks. All that remained on my lips was a painful, ugly smile. Before this fateful night, I had always been so proud of one thing. I believed Luan Huyen and I were each other's first loves. She had sworn as much to me herself. In truth, I wasn't some old-fashioned man with a prejudice against past relationships. I could have embraced her past. But I couldn't accept the years of lies, and I certainly couldn't accept her treating her ex as a best friend with zero boundaries. It was a complete trampling of basic respect. Tonight, I gave her one last chance. I had even lowered my ego to its limit, not asking her to choose between me and Lam Engip, but between Lam Engip and our own daughter. And yet, she still chose him. It turns out, seeing into someone's soul is quite simple. You only need to see one choice. When I arrived home, it was late. Auntie Tuong hadn't left yet, staying behind to watch the house. She was with Nin Nim on the balcony, counting cherry tomatoes. Nin Nim hearing the door unlock, her ears perked up. She immediately ran to the door and leaped into my arms for a tight hug. Daddy's home. The chaotic, complex emotions that had haunted me before opening the door were soothed by my daughter's warm embrace. Nin Nim clung to my neck, peering out at the empty hallway. Nin Nim pouting, her voice sweet and complaining. Daddy, where's Mommy? Ko Thin lifting Nin Nim up, suppressing the bitterness as he smiled gently. Mommy is busy with some work, sweetie. She might be home a little later than usual. Nin Nim didn't look happy. Nin Nim eyes full of hope blinking at me. Then, will Mommy still go to the flea market with me tomorrow? Can she help me sell these little tomatoes? I froze. I couldn't bear to hurt her or let her excitement end in disappointment. Luan Huyen and I had always agreed on parenting, never lie and never hide things from her. Even though she was just a child, we respected her as an individual. But right now, I didn't know how to tell her about the ugliness of tonight. Ko Thin trying to be vague, stroking her back. Nin Nim, if only Daddy goes with you tomorrow, is that okay? Sensing something was wrong, the corners of her eyes turned red. Nin Nim sniffling, tears welling up. But all the other kids have their daddies and mamas. They all go as a family. I want that too. Seeing her struggle to hold back tears, my heart constricted. I couldn't say no to her. Ko Thin nodding firmly, kissing her forehead. I promise, tomorrow, all of us will go together, okay? Satisfied, Nin Nim showered my cheeks with kisses, cheering loudly in my ear. After I tucked Nin Nim into a deep sleep, Auntie Tuong began packing her things. Before leaving, she looked at me with concern. Auntie Tuong frowning slightly, hesitating. Ko Thin, did you and your wife have a fight? Ko Thin with a strained smile, shaking his head. It's nothing major, Auntie. Just small things. It's late, let me walk you down. The whole way down the elevator, Auntie Tuong kept offering advice. Auntie Tuong voice, earnest and sincere. Couples fighting is part of life. Whatever it is, just sit down and communicate calmly. Don't look down on me just because I am old. I am quite modern. I've been reading those CEO web novels lately, and I've realized all the misunderstandings between the leads come from them being too proud. They refuse to open up to their partners. You two shouldn't be foolish like that. Don't keep everything bottled up. I smiled and nodded, appreciating her sincerity, and called a car for her. Before getting in, she remembered something important. Auntie Tuong turning back, her face full of worry. Oh, right. When I picked Nin Nim up from kindergarten this afternoon, she seemed to have been bullied. She told me there's a new transfer student who keeps snatching her things. You should message her teacher and find out what's going on. Don't let the child suffer in silence. After watching Auntie Tuong's card disappear, I took out my phone and messaged Nin Nim's teacher. She replied almost instantly. Teacher messaging back. Hello, it was likely just a small friction between the children. ILL mediated on Monday. Please don't worry too much. I thanked her and chatted a bit more about my daughter's progress. The teacher was full of praise for how well behaved and sensible Nin Nim was. Finally, she added. Teacher, a message requesting a favor. Nin Nim's father, I have a small favor to ask. Since you re on the Parent-Teacher Association board, you know the rule teachers can't join the self-managed parent groups. The father of the new student hasn't been added yet. ILL shares contact card, could you please help add him to the class group? Ko Thin replying immediately. Add no problem at all. Please send it over. The teacher immediately sent an electronic contact card. I tapped it to send a friend request. However, the moment I saw the profile picture, I froze. The profile picture was a photo of a very ordinary succulent plant. But that simple-looking plant was an exact match to the one sitting on my balcony. A nameless dread rose within me. Frowning, I quickly typed a message to the teacher. Then typing fast, heart full of suspicion. Teacher, I recall Star Kindergarten has a very strict admission process. For a child to transfer midterm like this, someone influential must act as a sponsor. Is that still the rule? Teacher confirming. Yes, the school still enforces that to ensure the children's safety. Is something wrong? Then swallowing hard, typing again. I wanted to ask about this case. Who is the sponsor for the new student, boy? After sending the message, my hand began to tremble uncontrollably. Anxiety swirled around me, and my heart hung in a state of agonizing suspense. I turned off the screen to stop myself from overthinking. I slowly turned my head toward the balcony. My eyes locked onto the lush green succulent sitting there. It was a plant Lu Nhuyen had meticulously nurtured for a long time. She had been caring for it even longer than she had known me. Seconds later, the screen lit up again. A message from the teacher. Teacher message on screen. Boy was sponsored by Nina's mother herself. Oh dear, did you not know? The next morning at dawn, I was jolted awake by the insistent ringing of the doorbell. I hadn't slept a wink all night. Before trying to rest, I had forced myself to send Lu Nhuyen a short text, reminding her of the important event today, the flea market with Nin. No matter how much I resented her now, I didn't want my negative emotions to affect her bond with our daughter, nor did I want Nin to suffer because of our problems. Last night, Lu Nhuyen seemed determined to play a game of Cold War with me. After returning home, she didn't even set foot in the bedroom, opting to sleep under a blanket on the sofa. The doorbell rang for a long time, but no one opened it. Since it was the weekend, Auntie Tuong was off. I had to get out of bed. Just as I opened my bedroom door, I heard movement in the living room. Then, the young girl's excited voice rang out. Boy voice bright and sweet. Mommy, I frowned, sensing something was horribly wrong, and hurried toward the front door. There, I was met with a grotesque scene. Lu Nhuyen was beaming, cradling a strange little girl in her arms. Lu Nhuyen looking at the people at the door, her tone surprised but joyful. Oh, why are you guys here so early? Lam Angip mocking, eyes full of flirtation. We came to thank you for saving my life last night. Boy wouldn't stop talking about you, so I thought I'd bring her over to visit. What is wrong? Are we not welcome? Lu Nhuyen smiling shyly, stepping aside to make way. Of course you are. Come on in, you too. I stood in the shadows of the hallway, watching. From a distance, I watched with cold detachment as the man stood right at my front door. Today, Lam Angip was clad in a striking wine red suit. His white undershirt was made of a fabric so thin it was practically translucent, leaving his muscular chest provocatively visible. His entire aura screamed flirtatiousness and affectation. This was hardly the attire of a platonic male friend coming over for a casual visit. He looked more like a gigolo showing up at client's door. After strolling into the house as if he owned the place, Lam Angip stared at the messy blanket on the sofa and smirked mockingly. Lam Angip pointing at the blanket, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh my, what is this? Did you have to sleep out here in the living room last night? Lu Nhuyen cradling the child while rubbing the back of her neck with an awkward smile. I got home so late last night. I didn't want to wake Niam, so I just crashed out here for the night. Lam Angip pouting, laying out a sharp, derisive snort. Are you afraid of disturbing your daughter, or is it because the person inside didn't even bother to leave the door unlocked for you? Nhuyen, if I were you, I'd say this husband of yours needs to be taught a lesson. What kind of woman lives so submissively these days, getting kicked out to sleep on the sofa at the slightest provocation? It's a good thing our relationship is strictly platonic. If I were any other man with impure intentions, that person inside would probably have kicked you out onto the street just to be rid of the burden. He paused, shoving his hands into his pockets and adopting a condescending, advisory tone. Lam Angip boastfully. Men need to be broken in. Even after marriage, a husband must learn to be more tolerant. In normal social circles, who doesn't interact with friends of the opposite sex, right? Listening to those malicious instigations, Lu Nhuyen remained silent. Although I couldn't see her full expression from my vantage point, the way she straightened her posture and her look of quiet agreement told me everything she was hanging on his every word. I let out a soft, chilling laugh and stepped out from the shadows, my voice calm and steady. Kothai and eyes sharp as knives, his tone terrifyingly composed. You rewrite. One truly should learn to be more tolerant. Not only do I need to be more generous, but even my daughter needs to learn the art of tolerance. Otherwise, if she sees her own mother rushing off, desperate to be a mother to someone else's child, things might get quite chaotic. Li Yuan's face instantly went pale and rigid. Her hands, which were holding little Lam Boi, trembled so violently the child nearly slipped and hit the floor. Li Yuan turning to me with a forced expression, her brow furrowed in reproach. "Hubby, how can you speak like that in front of a child? Why must you always be so sharp and prickly?" Kothai shrugging nonchalantly, tossing the question back. "Where was I being sharp? Is this still not tolerant enough? Your first love's daughter barely stepped foot in this house before she started calling you mom. I haven't said a single word of blame." Li Yuan's lips parted as if to offer another justification, but I cut her off decisively. My tone remained unnervingly placid. Kothai staring directly at the two of them, enunciating every word. "Since your lad Mngip is divorced and little Boi is currently lacking maternal affection, it seems like a perfect fit. A man in need of a wife to share his life, and a child longing for a mother's care. And you have always been someone so willing to help others. This mutual desire to be together is actually a good thing. It's best we finalize the divorce quickly. That way, you can move in and care for them legitimately." I felt I was being incredibly restrained speaking in front of the children. Refraining from vulgarities was my final boundary. I refused to let reach strip me of my dignity. Upon hearing this, Lam Ngip's expression soured instantly. He hurriedly took Lam Boi from Li Yuan's arms. Lam Ngip whispering to his daughter, Boi, go play on the balcony for a bit, okay?" Once the child had scurried off, Lam Ngip whirled around, glaring at me with indignation. Lam Ngip snapping, his voice thick with hypocrisy. "Kothai, you father yourself. How can you say such things in front of a child?" He then turned to Li Yuan, his eyes welling up with tears as if seeking sympathy for his perceived grievance. Lam Ngip sniffing, his voice breaking. "Yuan, look at this. Hasn't your husband gone too far? Boi is so young, how could an innocent child understand the complexities of adults? It's just a name, why must he make a mountain out of a molehill like this?" Seeing Lam Ngip's tears, Li Yuan panted. Fearing her old flame's feelings were hurt, she turned to me, her eyes brimming with resentment. Li Yuan barking an order, pointing her finger at me. "Kothai, I order you to apologize to Lam Ngip and Boi right now. What you just said crossed a line." A flicker of triumph crossed Lam Ngip's face at her blind defense. Just as I was about to respond to her absurdity, Lam Ngip sniffled again, putting on the act of a model father. Lam Ngip calling out to the balcony, his voice sweet but dripping with affectation. Boi, come back here for a second." When the girl ran back, he knelt to her eye level with a serious expression. Lam Ngip pointing a finger, acting stern. Boi, what did daddy tell you? You aren't allowed to call your godmother mom. You can call her mommy and you to be close, or godmother like before. But you absolutely cannot just call her mom, you understand? Lam Boi pouting defiantly. "But godmother already agreed to be my mommy. I like calling her mom." Hearing his daughter reveal that secret that Li Yuan had voluntarily offered to be the child's mother, Lam Ngip could barely hide his joy. Yet, on the surface, he maintained his stern facade. Lam Ngip raising his voice, his tone suddenly sharp. Boi, what is wrong with you? Are you refusing to listen to anything I say now?" Boi's eyes instantly reddened with fear. She whimpered, on the verge of a full sob. Seeing this, Li Yuan harched and pulled the child into her arms. Li Yuan scooping the child up, soothing her. "Yes, okay, Boi, don't cry. It's just a name. You can call me whatever you like, okay?" She then turned to console Lam Ngip. Li Yuan sighing, her voice gentle. "Don't be so hard on the child. These are just trifles, not worth mentioning." Finally, she turned back to me, her gaze cold. Li Yuan frowning, her voice laced with mockery. "Kothai, I want this to end here. Don't bring it up again. It's pathetic for a grown man to be so petty with a child." Lam Boi wrapped her arms tightly around Li Yuan's neck. She grinned smugly, unable to hide her triumph. She even began kissing Li Yuan's cheek repeatedly, as if asserting ownership. Lam Boi cheering happily, acting spoiled. "Godmother is the best person in the whole world. I love Godmother the most." After her praise, she turned toward me, Lam Boi winking and sticking her tongue out, her tone insolent. "You mean, bad uncle. I don't like you at all." My expression remained unchanged, not a ripple of emotion showing. Kothai looking at the child coldly, uttering each word distinctly. I don't particularly like children like you, either. You are a truly spoiled brat. Hearing me call her a brat, Lam Bao let out a wail and began to howl. I merely offered a mocking smile at her poor performance and turned toward my daughter's room. Nyam was still inside. I didn't want her coming out now, and I certainly didn't want her to see her mother embracing the child who bullied her. But as I turned, I saw a small girl clutching a rag doll. She had been standing at the doorway for who knows how long, staring at me, Nyam blinking her large, round eyes, her voice innocent but full of confusion. Eddie, why does Lam Bao have the right to call my mommy mom? The moment she saw her biological daughter, Liu jumped in fright and hurriedly sat Bao down. Lam Ngai's face clouded with displeasure, but he knew he had no standing to intervene. Lam Ngai muttering under his breath bitterly. This kid is just as much of a nuisance as her father. He grabbed Bao hand and led her back to the balcony. Liu rushed toward Nyam. Liu bending down, reaching out to hug her. My sweet Nyam. However, Nyam took a step back and pressed herself against my back. Nyam, her voice firm, though she began to sob. I don't like Lam Bao. She always bullies me at school. Mommy, please tell her to go away. Please. Nyam was usually a very well-behaved and sensible child. Under normal circumstances, she would never speak to a guest like that. Hearing this, Liu's face darkened. Liu demanding an answer. Nyam, who taught you to talk like that? Was it your father? The anger in my heart flared into a blaze at her accusation. Kofi glaring at her, fiercely defending his daughter. Liu, what is wrong with you? How can you so brazenly assume I taught Nyam to say that? Do you have any idea how much she has bullied at school every day? Lam Bao is only in kindergarten, yet she has already learned how to play social games. She hasn't even been there a month and she is already inciting the other kids to isolate Nyam. Our daughter is gentle and quiet, she chooses to endure, but she isn't stupid. She is sensitive enough to recognize malice from her peers and, clearly, she can feel the blatant favoritism from her own mother. This was the first time I had lost my temper and lashed out at Liu in front of our daughter. Nyam huddled fearfully behind me, Nyam tugging at my shirt with her tiny hand, whispering. Daddy, please don't be angry. Being angry isn't good for your health. Kofi turning around, gently stroking her head with a reassuring smile. I am okay, sweetheart. I just don't want my Nyam to suffer any more injustice. Liu rubbed her temples, looking exhausted. After hearing my stinging words, a flicker of pity finally appeared in her eyes. She stepped forward, reaching out to take my hand, and Nyam's. However, both of us stepped back in unison, rejecting the intimacy. Liu sighing, looking at me with disappointment. Kofi, I know you were upset. But Lam Ngai and Bao are guests in our home. Whatever is bothering you, wait until they leave. We can sit down and talk then. It's never too late for a husband and wife to communicate. The kids were just bickering, there's no need to make such a scene and make everyone uncomfortable. Hearing those excuses, my disappointment reached its peak. Last night, I had seriously considered Auntie Truong's advice, thinking we should sit down and talk things through. But at this moment, I realized it was utterly meaningless. There are personal grievances I could swallow for the sake of peace, but I would not allow my daughter to endure this injustice. Kofi softening his voice, gently coaxing his daughter. Nyam, go back to your room and get the things ready for the market. I watched until her door was completely closed before turning back. My gaze locked onto Liu. My voice was now devoid of anything but cold, hollow disappointment. I was ready to speak the final words of this marriage. Kofi calmly, slowly enunciating every word. Liu, let's get a divorce. The sentence seemed light, but it carried an absolute weight that left Liu stunned. Liu looking at me in disbelief, reaching out to grab me. Kofi, what do you mean by that? Kofi brushing her hand away, repeating with firm conviction. I said, let's get a divorce. Go be a mother to that Lam Bao child. My Nyam doesn't need a mother who always prioritizes strangers over her own family. Sensing my absolute resolve, Liu immediately backed down, her tone becoming much softer. Liu changing her tune, her voice pleading. Hubby, stop it. You can't just throw words like that around. Couples don't just demand a divorce over every little thing. Fine, I promise you, after today, I will keep my distance from Lam Ngai. I won't let it bother you anymore. Kofi answering decisively, flatly pushing her hand away. No. I turned away and walked toward Nyam, who was coming out with her small basket for the market. As she entered the living room, Li Yuanchuyen quickly changed the subject. Li Yuanchuyen putting on a caring facade, picking Nyam up. My good Nyam, mommy was wrong to speak harshly to you earlier. I am sorry. I'll make it up to you. How about we go to the balcony and pick some of those little tomatoes together? Despite everything, Nyam still loved her mother. Though her little mouth was still pouting, she didn't reject the hug. Li Yuanchuyen held Nyam and flashed a small smile at me. She mouthed silently, "Hubby, don't be angry anymore." I didn't bother looking at her and walked away. I went to the bedroom to change clothes, preparing to take my daughter to the flea market. But I had barely stepped into the room when a heart-wrenching sob erupted from the balcony. It was Nyam, screaming in pain, calling out for her little tomatoes. As it turned out, Lam Boy had run out and caused trouble. She had plucked every single tomato Nyam had worked so hard to grow. My daughter's entire harvest had been stripped bare, not a single one was left. Not stopping there, the cruel child had heartlessly ripped the plants out by the roots and trampled them into the floor. The balcony tiles were stained with the red juice of the crushed tomatoes. Seeing the seedlings she had so carefully nurtured destroyed, Nyam completely broke down. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, she pushed Lam Boy. Lam Boy fell backward from the push, her back hitting a succulent pot sitting on the edge of the balcony. The ceramic pot crashed to the floor, shattering into tiny shards. Sharp pieces flew everywhere. One shard accidentally sliced into Nyam's small hand, and blood began to seep out. The moment she saw me rushing out of the room, Nyam felt an overwhelming sense of grief and injustice. Nyam lunging into my arms, sobbing hysterically, pointing at the wreckage. Betty, hick, Lam Boy destroyed all my tomatoes. Hick, I hate her, make them leave. I never want them in our house again. Those tomatoes were her treasures. Every plant on that balcony had been meticulously sown and watered by her hands. She had put so much heart into preparing for this market and had been looking forward to it for so long. My heart ached as I held her tight, stroking her trembling back to comfort her. I tried to soothe her, but the pain was too much. Her sobs were caught in her throat. I looked up at Li Yuanchuyen, hoping that as a mother, she would show some shred of pity seeing her daughter bleeding and crying. But I was horrified to realize she didn't even glance at Nyam. Li Yuanchuyen's face was terrifyingly grim. Her eyes were fixed on the wreckage on the floor. She was staring at the shattered succulent pot as if she had lost her soul. Lam Ngip, standing beside her, was equally shell-shocked. He, too, looked at the crushed plant with profound sorrow. Lam Ngip, tears suddenly streaming down his face, dropping to the floor to pick up the shards, sobbing. Nchuyen, this was the gift I gave you when I confessed my feelings all those years ago. I didn't think you'd still treasure it after all this time. But now everything is broken. Does this represent some kind of omen? Li Yuanchuyen, panic-stricken, reaching out to stop him, her eyes full of worry and pain. Lam Ngip, don't touch them, be careful, the shards are sharp, you'll hurt yourself. Holding Nyam, I could only stand there and laugh coldly at this nauseating spectacle. So that was it. Only today did I finally learn the true origin of that plant. Over the years, our family had moved 3 times. Every time, Li Yuanchuyen had insisted on bringing that plant at all costs. I remembered once when the movers had accidentally left it behind. When she found out, she braved a torrential downpour to drive back and retrieve it. When I curiously asked who gave it to her, she had merely brushed it off, saying it was from an old friend and that she only kept it because she'd had it so long it would be a waste to throw it away. Only now did I understand the bitter truth. She didn't care about the plant, she just couldn't let go of the man who gave it to her. The realization left me feeling physically sick. Li Yuanchuyen was so worried about Lam Ngip cutting his finger that she didn't even see that her own daughter's hand was actually bleeding. Far from feeling for her child, she whirled around and screamed at Nyam. Li Yuanchuyen, pointing at her daughter's face, her tone harsh. Nyam, apologize to Uncle Lam and Boy right now. Nyam sobbing while trying to explain, her voice filled with a sense of profound injustice. But Lam Boy destroyed my tomatoes first, Daddy, and I worked so hard on them. Mommy, I didn't do anything wrong, so why do I have to apologize? Seeing the tension, Lam Ngip feigned nobility, lightly tugging on Li Yuanchuyen's sleeve. Lam Ngip lamenting, pretending to be aggrieved as he moved to pick up Boy. Forget it, Nchuyen, we shouldn't have come today. Goodbye, we leaving. But Li Yuanchuyen rushed to stop them. She stood protectively in front of them like a mother hen guarding her chicks. Li Yuanchuyen shouting, cutting off Nyam's cries. Nyam, I said apologize. I won't tell you again. Nyam flinched at her mother's roar. Her cries of injustice died in her throat. She looked up at Li Yuan with an expression of pure, stunned disbelief. Under the crushing authority of her mother's rage, the poor child was about to close her eyes and submit. Just as her little lips moved to utter the forced apology, I reached out and pulled her firmly behind my back. Li Yuan frowning in irritation, glaring at me. Koth, this isn't protecting her, it's excessive spoiling. This kind of failed parenting will only ruin her future. I merely offered a chilling, derisive smile. Without warning, I swung my hand and delivered a stinging slap across Li Yuan's face. Slap. Koth's eyes sharp, his voice low and dangerous. You rewrite. I admit I am spoiling her. And let me tell you, from now on, I am going to spoil her even more. I want Nyam to grow up surrounded by absolute love and protection. That way, she'll never make the same mistake I did. She won't be easily deceived by a little bit of fake kindness from someone else. It will give her the clarity to never end up with a partner as wretched and irresponsible as you. Li Yuan was utterly stunned by the blow from a husband who had always been so patient. She stood frozen, clutching her cheek where a red handprint was beginning to bloom. Seeing me hit her, Lam P tried to play the hero. He lunged forward, shielding Li Yuan. Lam P eyes wide, shouting righteously. Koth, how can you hit a woman? If you won't let your kid apologize, fine, I wasn't going to hold it against a child anyway. But let me tell you, you and I are different. I am not the kind of pathetic man who only cares about women like you do. Hearing that foul hypocrisy, I let out a contemptuous snort. Without hesitation, I threw a heavy punch right into his face. Thud. The punch, fueled by years of suppressed anger and delivered with sudden force, caught Lam P completely off guard. The weight of the blow sent his head snapping to the side. He stumbled back, clutching his face in agony, staring at me in disbelief. Koth taking a step forward, his voice trembling with rage. What right do you have to not hold it against her? What right do you have to stand in my house and judge me? You claim you aren't the type to cling to women, yet you shamelessly cling to another man's wife. Are you some kind of animal that can't tell the difference? Who do you think you are, demanding my daughter apologize? If you were going to be a cheap lowlife, at least learn your place. I paused, my burning gaze sweeping over their frozen faces. Koth pointing directly at the two of them. All this time, I've done my best to be patient for the sake of appearances. My only goal was to avoid making a scene in front of Nyam. But if you two don't care about shame or dignity, if you were shameless enough to reminisce about your past right in front of a child, then I won't hesitate to tear your masks off. I want Nyam to see exactly who you are, to see just how disgusting you both really are. At my scathing rebuke, Li Yuan's facade of composure finally shattered. Deep down, she still cared deeply about her image as a model mother. Li Yuan screaming, her face panicked. Koth, stop it right now. Don't say such things in front of our daughter. Seeing the adults fighting, Lam Boi rushed out from behind Lam P. The shrewish child began pummeling me with her small fists to vent her father's anger. Without ceremony, I pushed her away. Lam Boi fell back into the mess of tomato juice on the floor. Her pristine white princess dress was instantly stained bright red. She looked pathetic and bedraggled. I looked down at her. Koth coldly. A truly ugly child, from her appearance to her character. Pushed and insulted, Lam Boi let out a wail and began to cry more violently than ever before. Ignoring the mess behind me, I turned and scooped Nyam into my arms. I carried her straight out the front door without looking back once. Nyam buried her head in my shoulder, silently wiping away the tears still on her lashes. She wrapped her tiny arms tightly around my neck, seeking safety. Nyam, her voice hoarse, still heavy with sorrow, whispering in my ear. Daddy, can our family just not have a mommy anymore? Looking at the sweet child lying in my arms with eyes swollen from crying, my heart constricted with pain. I wondered how much disappointment must a child so young endure to have the courage to choose to give up her own mother. Koth gently wiping away the tears at the corners of her eyes and kissing her forehead. Okay, Daddy agrees. From now on, we don't need a mommy anymore. True to my word, I took Nyam to the flea market that day. After carefully disinfecting and bandaging the cut on her hand, I drove her back to our old house. Although her little tomato plants were gone, the old house was still full of unused items. We could take those to the market to sell. Among the items in the storage room were many special things, including stuffed animals and small decorations. They were all gifts Li Yuan had given me back when she was chasing me. Nyam, after all, was still a carefree child. Once we arrived at the market and she saw our close friends, she immediately regained her spirit, vibrant as if nothing terrible had happened. Watching her eagerly selling things with the other kids from a distance, I felt a sense of profound relief. Things weren't as bad as I had feared. My daughter was much stronger than I had imagined. At the market, I happened to run into a former colleague. We sat and talked for a while, and he confided in me that he was now divorced. Former colleague, his voice bitter, his eyes sad. The reason for the divorce was that my ex-wife cheated on me, but in the legal battle, I lost. The court eventually awarded custody to the wife. Now, I can only see the kid on weekends. Kothai and H frowning slightly, concerned. Brother, I am sorry if this is too personal, but Senior, I truly have no intention of offending you. But I don't understand, how did you lose a case where the wife was so clearly in the wrong? I don't mind you laughing at me for confessing this, but I am currently facing the exact same situation you did years ago. Hearing my words, my former colleague looked at me, his eyes shimmering with a deep empathy shared only between fathers who have walked the same path. Former colleague sighing, sharing sincerely. Back then, after I caught my wife red-handed in her affair, my only thought was to get a divorce immediately. My haste made me forget the most important thing: gathering evidence. I rushed straight into filing a lawsuit to bring that treacherous woman to justice. He paused for a beat, his hands unconsciously clenching into fists. Former colleague voice filled with resentment. In court, she flatly denied the affair. On the contrary, she despicably used my long-term depression as a weapon against me. She convinced the judge that my mental state was unstable and that I was entirely incapable of caring for our child. On top of that, since we got married, I had been a full-time father and had no steady income to provide for a life. Ultimately, based on an overall assessment from various angles, the judge awarded custody to the mother. As that heartbreaking story concluded, he reached up to wipe away the tears that were about to spill. He gripped my hand tightly as if to transfer his strength to me. Through my face, it seemed he was trying to send a message to his past self. Former colleague squeezing my hand, emphasizing every word. Hu Ting, listen to me. Once you decide to go to war, you must ensure it's a battle you are certain to win. You absolutely cannot afford to be impulsive. Hu Ting grasping his hand back, nodding solemnly. I understand. Thank you so much. I nodded as a promise, but deep in my heart, I vowed to myself I must endure and prepare thoroughly to fight a battle I am certain to win. I absolutely cannot lose custody of Nyan Nyan. After the flea market ended, my daughter and I cleaned up and prepared to leave. Right at that moment, Lu Ruyan's silhouette unexpectedly appeared. She was leaning against a luxurious black Maybach. In her hands, she cradled a bouquet of lilies of the valley, my favorite flowers. The rear passenger door was wide open, revealing a giant Lotso bear sitting prominently on the seat next to a princess doll set complete with shimmering accessories. These were Nyan Nyan's two favorite characters. I knew all too well that she was trying every possible way to beg for forgiveness. Lu Ruyan walking over quickly, her voice soft and flattering. Hubby, are you still mad at me? Seeing that I didn't respond, she turned and waved to our daughter. Lu Ruyan excitedly, with a bright smile. Nyan Nyan, come to mommy, look at the gifts I brought for you. Do you like Lotso and the princess dolls? Nyan Nyan stared at the toys in the backseat, her eyes lighting up with unavoidable excitement. But the moment she heard Lu Ruyan's voice, the smile vanished from her face, and her expression soured. Nyan Nyan stepping back, shaking her head decisively. I don't want those gifts. Having said that, she took the initiative to grab my hand firmly. Nyan Nyan urging. Daddy, let us go. My daughter's coldness left Lu Ruyan's enthusiasm hanging in the air. Seeing us about to leave without a second glance, she immediately reached out and grabbed my arm. She put on the exact same act she used to when we first started dating. Lu Ruyan pouting petulantly, her eyes pleading. Hubby, I really know I was wrong. I beg you and our daughter to find it in your hearts to forgive me just this once. To show how deeply sorry I am, I've specially booked a table at that French restaurant you love tonight. You know how hard it is to get a reservation there. Please, don't stay mad at me anymore, okay? Hu Ting pausing for a moment, tactfully pushing her hand away, raising an eyebrow coolly. So, where's Linyi right now? Hearing that name, Lu Ruyan frantically waved her hands to proclaim her innocence. Lu Ruyan asserting firmly. I've kicked that person away. I want to spend all my time with my husband and my precious daughter. I promise that I will never associate with anyone you dislike ever again. To add weight to her sincere words, Lu Ruyan even raised 3 fingers in a gesture of taking an oath. Her face was the picture of sincerity as she began to swear deadly vow. Lu Ruyan swearing loudly. I swear. from this moment on, if I continue to keep in touch with or meet Lainey even one more time, may I be struck by lightning and me a miserable end. If I break this vow, may I be hit by a car on the street, may I choke to death while eating, or even drown while just drinking water. Hearing those worthless, toxic vows, I could only let out a bitter laugh. Seeing me smile, the tension on Lu Ruyan's face seemed to ease and relax slightly. She shamelessly moved closer, leaning on me and flattering me, Lu Ruyan whispering, caressing my arm. My husband is still most handsome when he smiles. Promise me, don't ever be angry again from now on. I remained silent and did not respond. Since I was plotting to endure and gather evidence, I naturally wouldn't tip my hand. Lu Ruyan took my silence as a sign of tacit consent. Lu Ruyan sighing, acting cute. Promise me you will I'll never bring up the word divorce so casually again. You have no idea how terrified I was this afternoon. I stared intently at Lu Ruyan's face, which was pretending to be innocent and pitiful. In my heart, I felt only a profound sense of irony. Time hadn't left many marks on that beautiful face, but behind this perfect shell, her soul had long since rotted away. After everyone got into the car, I didn't sit in the front passenger seat as I usually did. Instead, I chose to sit in the back to be next to Nyan. Lu Ruyan looking through the rearview mirror, her gaze searching and cautious. Albie, are you still sulking with me? Gu Ting smiling gently, his tone unnervingly nonchalant. No, I am not angry. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan let out a sigh of relief. She didn't press any further and quietly focused on starting the car to head out. Sitting in the back, I looked down at my glowing phone screen. An account with a succulent plant profile picture suddenly popped up with a series of new messages calling my name. Lainey message sent, tone arrogant and provocative. Gu Ting, did you see the wrinkles on the dress your wife is wearing? You re a smart man. I knew the moment we met last night that you saw through my intentions. But I dare you, even if you know, there's nothing you can do about it. He followed up with more humiliating messages to trample on my self-esteem. Lainey message. Ruyan and I have known each other inside out for a long time. We've even slept together more times than I can count. Think about it, if I am determined to take her from you, does someone like you even stand a chance? Take some advice from your superior. Don't act like a jealous woman throwing a tantrum. Doing that win a woman's heart, it'll only make her find you repulsive and annoying. Immediately following those shameless words, a sensitive photo was sent. The man's neck in the picture was covered in bright red love bites. Lainey message. Sending this for you to enjoy a bit of the passion your wife displayed last night. Ruyan complained that you were boring and bland in bed. Only she and I are a perfectly matched pair. Finally, he attached a smug, mocking smirking emoji. Reading those filthy messages, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl into a sneer. Lu Ruyan suddenly speaking from the front seat, her voice curious. What are you looking at? I wonder what you're reading that could make you smile so happily. Lu Ruyan's voice snapped me out of those trashy messages. Gu Ting looking up at her through the reflection in the rearview mirror, keeping his tone entirely casual. Oh, it's nothing major. I was just chatting with a few parents from the kindergarten. Just as the traffic light turned green, Lu Ruyan withdrew her suspicious gaze and pressed the gas. I seized the opportunity to immediately screen record the chat to save all this file evidence. Once I ensured the video evidence was securely stored, I sent the recording of Lu Ruyan swearing her loyalty at the flea market gate over to Lin Yi. Gu Ting replying with a short but lethal sentence. I don't think you know her as well as you think. Let me show you how the woman you worship just swore a deadly oath to abandon you. Immediately after my retaliatory recording was successfully sent, the phone in my hand began to vibrate incessantly. I calmly crossed my arms, staring at the screen as a barrage of frantic messages flooded in. The notifications popping up showed the other party had completely lost control. I thought to myself, is his mental state already collapsing after just this? I didn't expect his endurance to be so laughably weak. Does a mediocre person like this really think he is what it takes to be the other man breaking up a family? After finishing our meal at the luxurious French restaurant, I took the initiative to speak. Gu Ting smiling, suggesting naturally. Ruyan, how about we take a family photo together? Lu Ruyan hearing the suggestion, appearing overjoyed. Yes, of course, let me pose. She enthusiastically cooperated to pose for a photo with me and Nyan. As soon as the photo was taken, I immediately posted it on social media, intentionally attaching a sentimental caption about the piece of daily family meals. Lu Ruyan was the first to like my post. She naively believed that I had completely set aside the past to forgive her. However, she had no idea of the sickening truth. When I went to the restroom halfway through the meal, I had vomited so violently it felt like my stomach was turning inside out. Even while sitting there eating with her, there were many times I nearly failed to contain my disgust. I wanted nothing more than to take the steak from my plate and smash it into her fake face. If it weren't for the goal of winning an absolute victory in court, and if it weren't for ensuring I got custody of Nyan, I truly wouldn't want to be near that filthy human being for even one more second. In the evening, while I was lying in bed coaxing Nyan to sleep, Nyan blinking her large, round eyes, looking at me with a gaze full of dissatisfaction and resentment, leaning close to my ear and whispering, "Daddy, are you the kind of person who is blindly obsessed with love?" Hearing such an advanced question from the mouth of a kindergartner, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Guting lightly flicking her forehead with my finger, laughing. "This little head of yours is truly clever and mischievous. Who taught you those words?" Nyan sniffling, acting wise beyond her years, seriously warning me. "People on the internet say that love-struck fools never have a good ending. Daddy, I am begging you, don't be a love-struck daddy like that." Looking at my daughter's sincere expression and her funny concern for me, my heart suddenly felt incredibly warm. The pain of betrayal seemed to lessen by half. I stroked her head, thinking that all the love and protection I had given this little girl over the years had truly been worth it. For the next several days after the incident, Lu Runin seemed to be home constantly. She began doing the housework she used to do for me and Nyan. She cooked diligently and kept the house meticulously clean. Occasionally, she made time to go to the movies with us. Family activities continued one after another without pause. She seemed to be trying very hard to play the role of a virtuous wife, wanting to prove she was a good mother. But it was all a lie. If I hadn't seen the filthy evidence with my own eyes, and if I hadn't read the messages Lin Yi deliberately sent me, I might have actually been fooled into thinking she was truly remorseful. On the third day since Lu Ruyan returned to being a good wife, Lin Yi started sending me screenshots of their conversations again to provoke me. Lu Ruyan messaged to Lin Yi, "Don't be so impatient. Just wait a bit longer until Guting's suspicion has completely cooled down. Then, I will definitely come out to be with you again. When that time comes, I promise to take you to that French restaurant. Everywhere I've taken him, I'll take you too. Does that satisfy you?" Not stopping there, she shamelessly bragged to her lover about her achievement in coaxing me. Lu Ruyan messaged to Lin Yi, full of self-satisfaction. "His mood has been better lately. Yesterday, he even agreed to go to the movies with me like we used to. See, I have Guting's psychology perfectly figured out, don't I? Guting just has a temporary hot temper, but deep down, he still loves me very much. He is an orphan, with no parents or relatives. When he proposed to me years ago, he voluntarily handed the company over to me to manage, while he stepped back to be a full-time husband. If he divorces me, he just loses only support. He'll be left with nothing. His mention of divorce was just a bluff, a trick to get my attention. I saw through those petty thoughts long ago. However, what disgusted me most in this conversation was when Lin Yi impatiently suggested that Lu Ruyan should just divorce me. Lu Ruyan coldly replying, "Lin Yi, know your place. I can play around or go wild with you whenever you want, but I will absolutely never divorce Guting." Lin Yi questioning, unwilling to accept it. "Why? You've cherished a plan for 8 or 9 years for me. Even when I wasn't around, you always carried the stomach medicine I needed. You love me so deeply, why refuse to divorce?" Actually, I also really wanted to know the answer to this question. Why, when she had cheated so blatantly and was so attached to someone else, did she refuse to divorce and set us both free? Lu Ruyan sending a comforting emoji, explaining heartlessly, "Because Guting has no one else. All his mind and energy have been poured into this family. Every little thing in the house is organized and managed perfectly by him. I never have to worry about housework. Do you think you could do what he does?" Lin Yi mocking, jeering message, "I see. So in your eyes, Guting is nothing more than an unpaid servant. The person you've truly loved from beginning to end has always been me." I found those words utterly pathetic. Two people who had already experienced failed marriages, yet even now, that man still blindly believed in something called love. After reading Lu Ruyan's cruel answers, the last bit of marital affection left in my heart vanished completely, crumbling into ash. It turned out that all this time, in her mind, I was nothing more than a free servant. The conclusion of a love I thought was unforgettable turned out to be this ridiculous and absurd. I quietly locked my phone screen and then took a photo of the love rice ball she had personally made for my breakfast. I posted that photo directly to my social media timeline. There are many ways to make someone go crazy with jealousy. But launching an attack as soft as cotton is often the most effective way. It is the most direct way to pierce through the fragile heart of the person anxiously waiting on the other side. Sure enough, less than 2 minutes later, Lu Ruyan's phone rang. The ringing was incessant, frantic, and impatient. Lu Ruyan quickly wiping her hands while cleaning, grabbing her phone, and rushing out to the balcony, closing the glass door. Separated by a layer of transparent glass, I saw her scratching her head, looking extremely anxious as she tried to soothe the person on the other end. But it seemed that this time, the other party's anger could not be extinguished and the call was eventually abruptly disconnected. Lu Ruyan looking extremely flustered, irritably pulling open the glass door and rushing back inside, heading straight for the coat rack. As soon as she walked in, she hurriedly grabbed her jacket, scrambling to put it on as she prepared to rush out of the house immediately. She looked like she was sitting on a bed of hot coals. Lu Ruyan anxious, making up a clumsy excuse. "Hubby, there's an extremely urgent matter at the company. The people in the project department can't handle it, so I have to go over there personally to check this situation." I sat on the sofa, taking a sip of tea, not even bothering to lift an eyelid to look at her. Seeing my indifferent attitude, Lu Ruyan hurriedly opened her call log and shoved the screen in front of my face to prove it. At the very top of the call history, the caller's name was saved as Secretary Jean. In reality, Lu Ruyan's secretary really was named John. Lu Ruyan smugly, with a firm voice. "See, now do you believe me? This really is an emergency. It can wait another second." Gu Ting not bothering to expose the clumsy lie, smiling slightly, his tone laced with deep meaning. "I never said I didn't believe you. If it's urgent, then go. Don't keep the other party waiting impatiently." Before my words were even fully finished, Lu Ruyan had dashed out the door at high speed. As her silhouette disappeared, I could faintly hear her frantically pressing the redial button for the person named Secretary Jean. Lu Ruyan, her voice pleading, echoing back from the hallway. "Don't do anything foolish. I promise I am coming to find you right this second. Be good, listen to me, go home and wait for me to arrive." After watching her car leave the parking garage, I quietly went into Nyan's room. I gently woke her up in the middle of the night. Immediately after, I packed our bags and took her to stay temporarily at a close friend's house. Seeing the two large suitcases, Nyan looked completely bewildered. Nyan blinking, rubbing her sleepy eyes, looking up at me. "Daddy, where are we going?" I knelt down, gently stroking her head to reassure her. Before officially taking the final step of the plan, I decided to seriously ask for Nyan's opinion one more time. Gu Ting looking her straight in the eyes, his voice deep and warm but cautious. "Nyan, if Daddy and Mommy really get divorced in the future, who would you choose to live with?" Lately, Lu Ruyan had been pretending to treat Nyan very well. The mother-daughter bonds seemed to have been somewhat mended. Nyan had even started affectionately calling her mommy again. Because of this, I couldn't help but feel a lingering sense of anxiety. Nyan's eyes suddenly turned red as if she were about to cry. She sniffled to suppress the rising emotions. Nyan looking up at me, her voice trembling but clear. Is Mommy going to find Lin Baby's daddy again?" This time, I decided not to hide anything from her anymore. I didn't want to use lies to deceive her. I nodded slightly and looked at Nyan with eyes full of heartache. However, contrary to my worries, Nyan showed a maturity far beyond her years. She looked at me with a gaze full of understanding and sympathy. The little girl took the initiative to reach out her tiny hand and grip mine firmly. Nyan, her tone incredibly firm, without a moment's hesitation. "I am going with Daddy." Receiving that answer, the heavy stone in my heart was finally lifted. I immediately contacted my authorized lawyer and 3 of my closest friends. When our car pulled up to the building where Linny lived, sure enough, I saw Lu Ruyan's familiar Maybach parked arrogantly there. My friends had already prepared cameras and recording equipment. It seemed that even the heavens were on the side of justice tonight. As we were walking upstairs, we happened to run into a delivery driver delivering something to Linny's apartment. A friend with me quickly snatched the yellow paper bag from the driver's hand and roughly tore it open in front of everyone. A few small blue boxes fell out and clattered onto the floor. Condoms. The delivery driver's ears turned red with embarrassment upon seeing the sensitive items. Before he could react, I took the initiative to tell him the whole story of how I was being cheated on. The driver turned out to be an upright man with a strong sense of chivalry. He expressed great outrage and indignation at my situation. The driver thumping his chest, speaking firmly. "Don't you worry, I'll definitely help you knock that door open today. My fellow delivery brothers are all around here, and our night shifts get pretty boring anyway. If you don't mind, I'll call some more guys over to help block the exits." Gu Ting nodding decisively. "Thank you. I don't mind at all." I hated nothing more than to strip away Lu Ruyan's fake mask. I wanted to trample her cheap dignity into the mud. Sure enough, people are always eager to witness a scandal. A moment later, the hallway was filled with a group of men in bright yellow delivery uniforms. Everyone's face showed excitement and righteous indignation. The driver began pounding violently on Lin's door. Very quickly, a woman's low voice drifted from inside. Lu Ruyan's voice echoing out irritably. Calming, stop that banging. The door was finally unlocked and opened from the inside. Lu Ruyan appeared with her bare shoulders fully exposed. She was wrapped in nothing but a thin bath towel. Her neck was covered in bright red marks. It seemed their foreplay had been quite passionate. However, the moment she saw me standing tall at the door, her whole body seemed struck by lightning and she froze in place. Lu Ruyan, eyes wide with panic, stammering in a trembling voice. Gu Ting, why are you here? The response she received was the flash of countless cameras and phones pointing directly at her, clicking incessantly. And along with that, a thunderous slap that I delivered to the traitor. Slap. Gu Ting, voice low and harsh, eyes flashing with fire. Lu Ruyan, since when did Secretary Shang move into Lin's house? Do you even know the meaning of the word shame? At home, you play the role of a virtuous, devoted wife. But the moment you turn around, you scramble to your lover's house to do these depraved things. Have you fallen this low? I grabbed her by the shoulders, my bloodshot eyes glaring at her. Gu Ting shouting directly in her face. I am asking you, do you even know what special day today is? Today is Nyan's birthday. You completely forgot your own daughter's birthday, yet you didn't forget to trudge out in the middle of the night to sleep with your ex. You don't even deserve to be called human. Hearing her daughter's name, Lu Ruyan was struck with extreme panic. She burst into tears, reaching out to try and grab me. Lu Ruyan, tears streaming down her face, pleading desperately. Please, listen to my explanation. It's not what you think. Gu Ting decisively shoving her hands away, his eyes full of disgust. Don't touch me, you're filthy. My friends continued to capture every moment of her humiliation. Inside, Lini heard the commotion and hurriedly threw on an unbuttoned shirt before rushing out to see what was happening. As soon as he saw the crowd and the cameras, his face turned deathly pale. Gu Ting looking with contempt at the two trembling figures. This is the price you pay for betrayal. Every piece of evidence of your affair is now in my hands. I declare this marriage is officially over. I will make you pay dearly and leave with nothing but the clothes on your back. Just as Lu Ruyan was about to throw herself at my feet, the enthusiastic delivery drivers decisively pushed her aside. They linked arms to form a solid yellow wall, completely cutting off her access to me. Seeing my murderous aura, Lini tried to retreat and lock the bedroom door to hide. I let out a cold laugh, rushed forward, and kicked the door wide open. Boom. As Lini tripped and fell onto the bed, before he could offer any reaction, I lunged forward and grabbed the fistful of his hair, yanking it back violently. The excruciating pain made him howl. My friend brought the camera close, recording the man screaming in panic. Lini completely broken, clutching his scalp, wailing for his lover. Save me, Ruyan, help me. But Lu Ruyan was in a dire situation of her own. In the struggle, the thin towel she was wearing slipped to the floor. Underneath that towel, she truly didn't have a stitch of clothing on. Neighbors in the hallway, hearing the commotion of the affair bust, flocked out to watch. They pointed, filmed, and gossiped loudly. Lu Ruyan, a woman who had always valued her public image above all else, now found herself completely naked in public. To try and cling to the last shred of her dignity, she could only cover her head and squat in a corner of the wall, her face filled with utter shame. No matter how much the people around her shouted or pushed, she didn't dare move a muscle. Soon after, Lini was also dragged out of the bedroom and thrown into the hallway. Both sinners were now in a state of near total nakedness. They huddled together in the corner, clutching their heads. Their pathetic appearance was no different from stray dogs being beaten. A while later, Lu Ruyan's parents, having received the news, rushed to the scene. Seeing their daughter's disheveled, naked state surrounded by neighbors and cameras, her father froze, clutching his chest in such distress he nearly fainted. Lu Ruyan's mother, a lawyer specializing in divorce cases, understood the situation better than anyone. With such blatant evidence and a shameful scene, she knew exactly what kind of disastrous end awaited her daughter. Lu Ruyan's mother crying as she lunged forward to beat and scold her daughter. Oh heavens, you shameless girl, how could you be this foolish, this stupid? Lu Ruyan couldn't even face her parents. She buried her head in her knees, silently enduring the blows. The scandal was eventually brought to the police station for resolution. In the precinct, the atmosphere was incredibly tense. Lu Ruyan, wearing clothes her mother had provided, knelt on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably in belated regret. Lu Ruyan kneeling to beg me, clutching the hem of my pants. Then, I beg you, please find it in your heart to forgive me just this once. Neem, that's right. Neem can live without her mother. Please, think of our child. I quietly pulled my phone from my pocket to confront her. I played the recording of my earlier conversation with Neen Neem, turning the volume to its maximum. In the recording, Neen Neem's voice asked, Did Mom go looking for Lamb Boy's father again? Then came the child's absolute, unwavering answer, I am going with Dad. Hearing her own daughter's voice, Luan Chuyen looked up at me, her eyes filled with utter shock. Luan Chuyen shaking her head in panic, crying out, It can be, only yesterday Neen Neem said she have forgiven me. Kothin, a sardonic smile spreading across his face. That's true. The child almost did forgive a person like you. But in the end, look at what you've done. I leaned down, staring directly into her red, swollen eyes. Kothin questioning in a stern, piercing voice. Luan Chuyen, try to imagine this if Neen Neen grows up and she is unfortunate enough to encounter a partner as wretched, deceitful, and shameless as you are right now. How would you feel then? What would you do to save your daughter? This lethal question finally shattered her last line of defense. It was the final straw that crushed her persistence, and any lingering hope she tried to salvage. She hung her head, her shoulders trembling violently under the weight of her own shame and humiliation. Luan Chuyen, voice trembling, breaking into pieces. I agreed to the divorce. On the day we officially received our divorce certificate from the court, Neen Neen used all the meager savings from her piggy bank to buy me a gift. She bought her father a beautiful, vibrant bouquet of bluebells. The little girl looked as mature and sensible as an adult. Neen Neen smiling brightly, tiptoeing to hand me the flowers. I love you most, Dad. Luan Chuyen stood not far away, her hands wringing together in a display of guilt and agony. She stepped forward hesitantly, desperate to say a few final words to her daughter. But just as she opened her mouth to call the child's name, Neen Neen immediately taking my hand and coldly turning away. Dad, let us go home. Luan Chuyen had to summon every ounce of courage to call out after us. Luan Chuyen pleading, tears streaming down her face. Neen Neen, could you call me Mom just one more time? Neen Neen stopped. She turned her head, looking at the woman before her with a gaze that held no warmth, only the coldness of a stranger. Neen Neen, tone icy and distantly polite. Hello, Auntie Lu. Lamb Boy is your real daughter. Having delivered that final blow, Neen Neen pulled my hand and walked away without looking back. Luan Chuyen was so stunned she could barely stand, nearly collapsing onto the courthouse steps. Neither I nor Neen Neen had any intention of stopping to lend a hand. We quickly got into the car. I pressed the accelerator and sped away, refusing to glance at the pathetic sight in the rearview mirror. Since leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau that day, I never saw Luan Chuyen again. The following day, when I took Neen Neen to kindergarten, the head teacher informed me that Lamb Boy had been expelled. The reason was the loud, sordid jealousy scandal from that night, which had spread like wildfire across social media and parent groups. The parents had collectively protested, refusing to let their children study alongside a child from such an ethically compromised family. Under immense pressure, the school had no choice but to expel her. The teacher added that on the day Boy was kicked out, her biological mother arrived to withdraw her records. She forcibly bundled the child into a car and drove away. Just as the car started moving, Lam Engip arrived. Seeing his daughter being taken away, Lam Engip lost all reason and chased after the car like a madman. However, he had only run a few steps into the road when a high-capacity motorcycle sped toward him from behind. The violent impact sent him flying. Lan Engip survived, but he suffered severe multiple traumas, including a broken leg and a spinal injury. Because the accident was caused by him dashing into traffic in violation of road laws, the motorcyclist only paid a small sum for humanitarian reasons. The events that followed were a true living hell for him. Burdened with expensive surgeries and treatment costs, Lam Engip had to shoulder everything alone. His savings ran dry. He had to put his house up for sale to pay the hospital bills. When that money was gone, he shamelessly turned to social media to beg for donations. However, netizens quickly recognized him as the homewrecker who had been stripped and shamed in the viral video. Instead of support, they filed a mass report against him. Within 2 days, his fundraising campaign was permanently banned. Unable to pay, he was evicted from the hospital. In desperation, he reached out to Luan Chuyen and his old brothers, but everyone turned their backs on him. Some were cruel enough to screenshot his pathetic pleas for money and post them online for a laugh. Just to see the drama unfold, they even went out of their way to send those images to me. After that ordeal, Lam Engip became a destitute cripple, and news of him vanished entirely. A long time later, the last news I heard regarding Luan Chuyen was the report of her death. The humiliation of being exposed naked in that hallway that night had left an indelible psychological scar. She developed a phobia and a deep-seated rejection of men. She once tried to go on a blind date to start over, but as soon as the man heard she was the lead actress of that shocking video, he threw his coffee in her face and walked out. As for her career, her company could not withstand the public outcry and the stain on its reputation. Investors withdrew their capital in unison. The cash flow was severed and the factory could not pay wages, leading to a mass strike. Contracts couldn't be fulfilled on time, bringing a mountain of penalties and lawsuits down upon her. Employees quit one after another. Debt collectors, seeking to apply pressure, printed her humiliating nude photos onto hundreds of flyers and plastered them across the company gates. Sliding into despair, Luan Chuyen fell into a deep depression and became paranoid, feeling as though everyone on the street was pointing and mocking her. Eventually, she locked herself inside, drowning in alcohol day after day. Even her own parents could not bear their failed, disgraced daughter and cut off all contact, leaving her to her fate. One rainy night, unable to bear the pressure of her massive debts and her profound loneliness any longer, Luan Chuyen climbed to the rooftop and jumped to her death. The person who discovered her broken body was not her parents, but a sanitation worker passing by. On the afternoon I heard about my ex-wife's death, I was out on the balcony helping Nin water some newly planted tomato pots. The kindergarten was about to host another flea market. This time, Nin remained devoted to her passion. She had germinated the seeds herself and wanted to sell her own tomatoes. I held the watering can, looking at the tiny tomato buds just beginning to bloom under the golden sunlight. My mind drifted for a moment, reflecting on the impermanence of life and the nature of karma. Nin gently tugging at my shirt with her small hand, looking up with round eyes. "Dad, what are you thinking about so deeply?" I snapped out of my memories, set the watering can down, and looked at my daughter with all the tenderness in the world. I reached out to pinch her chubby, rosy cheeks and smiled gently. Kothin smiling warmly. I was thinking, how is it that my Nim is so talented and so strong? Under the brilliant sunset, father and daughter laughed together. The dark past had receded completely into the distance ahead of us. There were only green sprouts reaching up to catch the sunlight.